Remakes. It's almost a dirty word to some, especially within the horror community. I feel like that's also the reason that some, like production companies come up with terms like reimagination and whatnot, but let's face it, as long as it's based on an older movie, it's a remake. Me, I'm personally, I'm open to the idea of remakes. Take, for example, Old Boys. It's one of my favorite movies. I went and see the remake in theaters. Martyrs, love that movie. I went and see the remake on my computer. I mean, I did download it. Come on. And sure, both of these examples, they weren't that memorable, but what was the point I'm trying to make here? Anyway, welcome to my new series where I'll be taking a look at movies and their remake. And I was thinking, what would make for a good first episode? Well, let the right one in. Or, låt det rätta komma in. I mean, here you have a foreign movie. It's pretty successful, it's pretty popular. And then, boom, 2 years later, English language remake. No problem. But, well, let's start at the beginning. And that's actually this 2004 novel, which was adapted into the 2008 movie Let the Right One In, with the screenplay being written by the novelist. And that's always a little tricky, because the remake could just as well be just another adaptation, from the same novel, but more on that later. So, Let the Right One In. We follow this little boy, Oscar, with a motherfucking K, homeboy. He's a bit of an outsider, weird interests, and well, because of that he's being bullied. Or, well, he's like that because of the bullying. It's a chicken-egg situation. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken, obviously.
Oh, well, where did the chicken come from?
Well, it came from the...
Anyway, then this girl moves into his apartment block, and over the course of the movie they build up a close friendship together. Only one minor setback, and this isn't as much a spoiler as it is just the premise of the movie. The girl, Ailey, she's a vampire. Oh no. I mean, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of vampire movies. I mean, sure, I love the original Dracula, the Bela Lugosi one. And there's some random titles I really enjoy, like Fright Night, or, well, What We Do in the Shadows. I mean, that's a vampire movie. But in general, I've just never really been all that interested in the whole vampire mythos, if you will. So, if anything, it's kind of a good thing that with this movie the emphasis really isn't that much about the horror or the vampire aspect. But I feel more so about this unlikely friendship between the two main characters. At least that's what I got from the movie. And the performances by these two kids, who were both 12 at the time of the movie's release, they're pretty good. Their interaction and chemistry is initially somewhat awkward, as it would be. So that's good, and in general it's quite believable. So, with the focus being on their relationship, calling this movie a horror movie can be quite misleading. Sure, there are some horror-ish scenes, and some of them are actually pretty good. Like when this infected lady, is that how you call it? She's bitten by a vampire. When she bursts into flames after coming in contact with sunlight. That scene is crazy. Or, well, without spoiling too much, the pool scene towards the end. Definitely one of the more memorable scenes. But I'd still not call it a traditional horror movie. Also in its pacing and the way it's shot, it's very calm. A lot of long shots, often quite static or with very minimal camera movement. And I love it, especially in combination with the snowy location. This movie looks beautiful. Initially, when I saw this movie, probably like pretty quickly after it came out, I wasn't terribly impressed by it. But looking back, it's probably because I expected it to be, just like a more traditional vampire or horror movie. Now, over time, I've actually come to appreciate the movie quite a lot, exactly because it isn't your average vampire flick. It's actually quite an original take on the genre. It's just, that's something you should keep in the back of your head when you go into this movie. So, the production on the English language remake actually already started rolling right after Let the Right One In had its first American festival screening, because that's where Hammer Film Productions bought the rights to the movie. And yes, that's the same Hammer Films behind the hugely successful and influential Frankenstein and Dracula reboots of the late 1950s. So, fast forward to 2 years later, and well, here we have let me in. Well, let's have a look. It's the same story. We follow, well this time, Owen, and again he's being bullied, but with that haircut, come on buddy, you're kinda asking for it. Nah, don't worry, I'm just kidding. I mean, bullying is bad, okay? Again, he meets this new girl that moved in next door, but this time it's Chloe Moretz, the queen of modern day remakes. Or, well, should I say like Little Princess? She's even announced to star in an upcoming remake of Suspiria. Yeah, the fans are definitely gonna like that one. So, basically, like I said, it's the same movie. It starts differently, although you find out that's just a scene from later in the movie, pushed towards the beginning, followed by 2 weeks earlier. Why? But it's very watchable. I feel like they amped up the horror a little bit though. The vampire attacks, they're more violent and over the top. And there's more scary vampire faces. And, well, they did add this one scene that wasn't in the original movie, where this car crashes, which I thought was quite well done. But besides that, it's kind of the same movie. Sure, there are some minor details left out or added in, which could potentially change the story, or at least like the tone of the movie quite a little bit actually, but mostly only so if you read into it enough. Besides that, you know, it's just pretty well made. It looks good, the acting is okay. Really, there's just not that much to really complain about. So that kind of brings us to the ultimate question. What's the point? And honestly, I don't know. The director of Let the Right One In basically said it best, stating that remakes should be reserved for situations where the original movie is bad or could be improved upon. And well, Let the Right One In, as the director thinks as well, it's far from a bad movie. And then you have the whole subtitle issue. And you know, me being the kind person that I am, I would never judge anyone for not wanting to read subtitles. It's just like, oh man, it's such a shame. I mean, you're missing out on so many great movies if you refuse to watch anything not in your native language. And some of you might know, I grew up here in the Netherlands, where, with the exception of kid shows and most animated movies, not a whole lot gets dubbed. So I grew up watching movies and playing video games in their original language. I grew up reading subtitles. And you know, I'm really glad that I did, because it, in a way, like it prepared me for, you know, not having a problem, not having to bitch about watching foreign movies. There could still be the question though, is it really a remake? Like I said, it can just as well be yet another adaptation from the same source material. And well, as you'd come to expect from me by now, I haven't read the novel, so it's kinda impossible for me to tell. There's some exactly the same dialogue, but you know, this could have easily also be in the novel. But a lot of visual compositions and some editing, they're also quite identical. And that you just simply can't get from a novel. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say that it's just a remake. So, which version do I prefer? Well, I'll have to go with the original. I just thought that in the original, the chemistry between the two main characters just more believable, natural. It felt a little more forced in the remake. And you know, since this movie focuses a lot on the relationship between these two characters, you know, it's kind of important. Plus, in the remake, they somewhat removed this whole set of minor characters, which made later scenes much less effective. And finally, I don't know, I felt like it was just kind of unnecessary to try and make it more scary. I mean, no harm in trying. I just feel like this story didn't really need any of that. So, and well, that brings us to the end of this first video in the original versus remake series. By the way, if anyone has a more catchy name, let me know, maybe I can use it. Also, I'm very much aware of Andy the Maniacal Cinephile and his Boots to Reboot series over at his Stitch Together Pictures YouTube channel. It's basically the same idea where he takes a look at a movie and its remake, although he's been doing it for much longer, obviously. I just want to say that I'm not, I'm not trying to bite his thing, like to copy his style. So that's why there's this little shout out here. I mean, his channel is great. It's quite underrated actually. So be sure to check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. So what do you guys think? Let the right one in or let me in? Which one is better, or are they exactly equally as good or as bad as one another? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. And while you're at it, let me know what you think about this concept, for a new series. I mean, I have at least one more video plan that I'm working on that I want to do in this style, like original versus remake. But if you guys like this, I'm definitely willing to do more. But that's up to you guys. Let me know, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.